hello everyone. Welcome here in the Bulskampveld. I want to welcome you from my end as well. I've been asked to give you a bit of insight in the work we do surrounding the landscape park Bulskampveld, and more specifically the things we do to promote it and work with local business owners. So I heard you're a bit behind schedule, so I'll try to make it quick so you don't miss out on the afternoon part. Maybe a bit of introduction. So I am Valerie van Houten. I'm a project manager at the organization Westdoen. A bit of background: Westdoen is the autonomous provincial organization for tourism in the province of West Flanders. Very briefly put, our mission is to support tourism in West Flanders as an economic sector, so developing attractive products and promotion. We also work very hard to support supra-local open air recreation, and also, very important, as the provincial corporation, we draw up tourism and recreation policy on behalf of the province, and of course help to implement this in the province. We have a lot of different divisions. It's a big organization. We work there with around 80 people. So we have a division that is devoted entirely to numbers, people that do surveys, they draw up statistics, they try to predict trends, and so on and so on. We have a division that makes walking and cycle routes and maps, but we also have a division that is devoted to regional branding, and we do so in 4 sub-regions. So as you can see, the yellow region is our coastal area. That's a very big draw here, not only in the province but in the entire country. It's a very big touristic highlight. Then the red part is the Westhoek, or maybe you know it better as in Flanders Fields. So the last couple of years that has been booming a lot with remembrance tourism for World War I. The blue part is the Lies Valley area, or Leesstreek, that borders on East Flanders. And then the green part is where we are now. That's the Brugse Ommeland, so actually the area surrounding Bruges. Bruges is wood and wetland.
Valerie, if I could just add, if you hold this one, yes. I want to show you guys the area that we are working in is the area Roeselaar Piet, so it's actually
The heart.
yes. This part like that. So it's bordering and it's overcrossing.
Yeah.
So like she says, they're making certain strategies on different sub-regions, but our working space for the economic and social environment is covering 2, sometimes even the 3 areas, and it's a bit of a challenge to try.
Yeah, sometimes it's difficult because the different regions don't match, but the way that we divide it to province is because it's easier for branding, because these sub-parts have a very specific own identity, and it doesn't really always coincide with the identity on economic level, or so that's sometimes it's different areas. So the green part is where we are now, and the landscape park Bulskampveld is the striped area. I don't know if everyone can see. Now, what is this? I work specifically for the landscape park Bulskampveld. Today we are in the visitor center Bulskampveld, but to clarify the relation, so this is the provincial domain, Lippenskoek Bulskampveld, and this is definitely the heart of the landscape park, but the landscape park is much, much larger. The total area of the landscape park is 90 square kilometers. That's over 20,000 acres, if my online conversion tool is right. And in comparison, the provincial domain is only 2.5 square kilometers. So it's much, much larger, and it's actually the largest interconnected woodland in West Flanders, and also borders with East Flanders, the part that's also in East Flanders. It stretches out over 5 municipalities, so Beernam where we are now, but also Oostkamp where you were earlier today, Wengene, Ruislede and Aalter. So the parameter largely coincides with the historic region of Bulskampveld. It's the Germanic term for field of bulls. And it was an area consisting mainly of moors that is now transformed by land reclamation into a combination of meadows and woodlands, but I'm sure that your guides explained that all downstairs. Now in 2011 we reunited the entire area as the landscape park Bulskampveld. This was done by several different partners. What was the idea behind the reuniting of this area was actually the concept of recreational destination areas as ready-to-use touristic products. So this was an idea both from the province West Flanders and West to these areas, recreational destination areas, were coined as areas that have a very wide variety of possibilities for tourists and recreationists, and that they can spend at least a half a day or a whole day in them. So they should be ready to use tourist products, and they also should form, on the one hand, a physical unity, for example, by the infrastructure on terrain, as well as a mental one. So it should be a recognizable brand. So this idea was put into the strategic policy plan for open air recreation. There was a strategic study, especially for the landscape park, and this was actually our point of departure. Then since 2009 we have been working on the recreational development of Bulskampveld with 2 consecutive leader projects. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the leader program. Yeah, so it's a European subsidiary program to help rural actors realize the potential of their region. It's a project with a lot of partners. I think now we have 18 or 19 partners, and it's the 2 provinces, it's West-Tour and Tourism East Flanders. We have the 5 municipalities, we have several nature organizations, but also, for example, the Boerenbond, that's the organization for agriculture. We have Flemish agencies for nature and development, who are actually a big proprietor of grounds here in the region. We have the Flemish Agency of Land Development, so a lot of partners. And it became clear very early on that we needed a light organization structure, that there was need for a platform where all partners could come together, that they could consult one another, that all initiatives in the region could be tuned into each other. So this group gathers 4 times a year and is presided over by the deputy of the province. So since 2009 there was a lot of work being done behind the scenes. In 2011 we were then ready to go public with our landscape park. West-Tour had just launched their walking network, Bulskampveld. I have 2 with me, I'll just pass them on. These are maps with 112 junction points that you can interconnect as you wish. So it's 150 kilometers of walking paths, and you can just you can decide where you want to start, where you want to end, how much kilometers you want to walk. So it's a very nice map, and this was a big first important step to unify the region as a whole. It looks like this. Then in 2011 we also had an official launch moment where the park was presented to the press and where all partners signed a charter for further development. In short, the charter asks for a commitment of all partners to actively contribute to the action committee that we have and to carry out what is decided there to their own backing. Also, by signing the charter, they agree to use our logo and brand when they are communicating about Bulskampveld. our logo and baseline. So the baseline reads, translated loosely, it's don't miss out on a single piece. The idea behind that is that we're turning a weakness into a strong point, seeing how it's such a large parameter. You can come across a lot of different types of landscapes. It's a bit a patchwork. And this is also one of the main stumbling blocks with the public to regard the area as a whole. But by addressing this in a positive way, we try to turn fragmentation into diversity. There's always something for everyone, and you have to return because you can always discover something new. And also, as I mentioned before, there's a bit of confusion about the name Bulskampveld, because you have the provincial domain that is very well known, but not a lot of people know that it's a larger area. So by giving them a call to action, don't miss out on a single piece, we try to raise awareness that it's a bit bigger than only the provincial domain. Now we try to use this design as much as possible. These are a few examples. We incorporate them on the maps. We use it as much as we can, but we try to motivate our partners as well to use it in their communication. A few things that we do is our infograms. It's a small informative paper for inhabitants. I handed one out for you. That's the last one. We have 5 editions so far. This is printed on approximately 40,000 copies, and it's actually distributed door to door to all inhabitants of the 5 municipalities. We have, and then we keep them updated on all the new things. We have a suggestion route. So, and we can see now that after 5 times, people here are really starting to recognize our brand and are becoming aware of what is in their backyard. We have roll-ups, banners, t-shirts, etc. We also have annual events where we try to promote the area by making some gadgets. For example, we had one where we had a photo booth and you can take a photo home with you in a beautiful surrounding. We had we developed beer with a local microbrewery. And you can see we also have beer coasters, but they are made out of growing paper with flower seeds in them, so you can take it home, plant it, and have a bit of Bulskampveld home with you. We have a new website. We have a Facebook page where we try to interact as much as we can with our visitors and the inhabitants, for example, by initiating a photo contest. We also have an overview map. I think I handed that out as well, with 25 must-sees and must-dos in the area that is distributed free in all the tourist offices. Also, we want to have a more visible presence in the visitor center here. The current arrangement was installed before there was even a landscape park, Bulskampveld. So the arrangement as is very focused on the woodlands and not the landscape park. So that's a definite oversight for the moment, but in the coming period we'll try to do something about that. We're working on that to be more visible here in the center. Not only do we have a logo and our publications, there's also a physical design for infrastructure. So in order to create a visible unity throughout the park, we want a uniform style in signage, in the information points, picnic benches, furniture, etc. This style will be gradually implemented throughout the entire area. So these are a few examples of the design. In a few spots this has already been realized, but in the near future it's going to be much more visible because we are developing different access gates as well. Because it's such a large area, we have different starting points, and in the coming 3 years there will be massive investments by VLN, that's the Flemish Agency for Land Development, to really implement this style. Like this is the future design for Aanwees, one of our major access gates. You probably passed it when you were driving here. So that's all things that are happening in the near future. Now we don't only have our physical visitor reception, that's very important. We're also working on several initiatives having to do with a more personal visitor reception. So for example, our ambassadors, which I will say some more about in a minute. But we also have a network of supplementary info points. We have specialized guides who have followed the course, especially for the landscape park Bulskampveld, and we try to collaborate with them for a number of diverse touristic products. Maybe first a few words to the network of supplementary info points. This is a network around 90 bars and restaurants in the area, not only here in Bulskampveld, but the wider area around Bruges. These are points where we try to make tourist information available, and the owners of these establishments get the opportunity to follow a crash course that they can find out what are the touristic highlights in their region, so they can provide their customers with customized tips and advice of what they can do in the area. They also have a display with free publications, brochures, etc. Now, for the landscape part of Bulskampveld, we wanted to go a bit further and really involve local business owners in our Bulskampveld story. Essentially, to be an ambassador, you have to follow a course of 5 half days about all things Bulskampveld. So we have 5 days, each day is around a different theme, is in a different location, and very coincidentally we have 5 municipalities, so we could have different locations for every day. The target group for this are entrepreneurs that work with tourists, but this group is much wider than the information points I just talked about, because those are just bars and restaurants. But for this this course, we wanted to target a wider audience. Actually, an important group are, of course, our bed and breakfasts, our holiday homes, but also people who work at small museums, who have visitor attractions like an outdoor adventure center, but also, for example, it could be interesting for castle owners that would be willing to open their domains to people. So it was a much wider audience that we wanted to target with this. Together with the, yeah, I'm sorry.
I have a question.
Yeah?
What is their actual task after the crash course? What do they have to do? Just inform?
Yeah, so we want them to be ambassadors, and the main goal was actually to raise awareness. That was one. Because we think it's really important, before that we can have tourists coming from the rest of Flanders, it's very important that local people here realize in what kind of beautiful area they live. So we have the paper that goes to all inhabitants, but a very important group that we feel that we need to reach are the local entrepreneurs, that they can actually incorporate the story of their region in the way that they handle their business. Like, the ultimate goal is to have restaurants that have a Bulskampveld menu that is made with local products, or a B&B who has their rooms redecorated to fit a story from the area. Those are things that we would like to achieve, but it's a difficult process.
So it's not just for them to inform tourists about.
Also, that's the first thing that we would expect from them, but yeah, after a few years, it's something that the landscape park Bulskampveld's project is actually something that is now carried out very top down by a lot of partners and governments, but the dream is to have something, a region that where there is a dynamic that it can come bottom up, that people really start to work with this and start to yeah.
So your tourism market is just for Belgium now?
Well, for the first instance, yes. So we're now, it's a bit of a, we have a saying here, chicken or the egg. I don't know if you know what comes first. You know, do you try to target people from Belgium or abroad to come here, and do you hope that your local business owners will catch on and go, aha, I have to get me a part of that? Or do you start with inhabitants, local owners, and then you can have a more rich aanbod offer of tourist products that people will follow suit and come here. It's a bit of a, yeah.
So part of the strategic plan is to develop that eventually into more international.
Yes,
Yeah.
that would be the dream, but I think we have to, like in Belgium, we're very modest also, always. And the ambition is maybe a bit less. We don't have the ambition now to say we can compete with parcs régionaux in France, or you have in the Netherlands, you have really well-known national parks. That's something that here in Flanders we don't have a tradition for that, and it's something that has to grow. Yeah. So I think our first goal to have people here know that they're living in the landscape park is then to have recreationists from Province West Flanders and Flanders, and then maybe I think we can think about tourism abroad. But it's true, we have such a beautiful area here. It's fantastic, but the thing that we're still missing is a big attraction. Like in the Netherlands, you have national parks and they have a walking path through the trees or a big tower where you can see the entire area, and that's something we don't have here. So I think to be realistic, at this point we don't have what it takes to have an international attraction. But we are working on that.
Do you have a capacity for guests staying overnight, or more than just stage visitors?
We have quite a few B&Bs, holiday homes in the region. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we have 6,000 beds in the surrounding area, so that's quite a lot. It's not for Bulskampveld as of yet, but it's because we are surrounding Bruges. We have a very active B&B and holiday home.
Also through the leader programs, they have done a lot of efforts, and quite a few project proposals have been entered to further develop the network of specifically B&Bs.
Yeah.
Who will be, for example, trainers for this 5-day course?
Yeah, I'll just get into that now, what the different teams were and how we went about that. So first things first, we made a list of about 85 potential ambassadors that with the different partners we thought could be a good fit. We contacted them with an invitation, a personal letter and a flyer, but also we went a bit further. We tried to, we called them, or through a similar contact, we tried to motivate them to enter. And out of a list of about, I say, 85, 90 potential candidates, 31 people applied, which we were very, very happy with. This was much more than we had anticipated. We were hoping for 20. That would have been a great success. Why? Because, as I explained earlier, the Bulskampveld's identity is something that still needs to grow. It's not very well known yet. So this was for us a very pleasant surprise that so many people applied. Mostly the participants were bed and breakfast holiday homes, because they are really the host role there is very important for them. But we also had restaurant and bar owners. We, for instance, had a local farmer who has a farm shop where you can go and pick your own strawberries. We had someone, a local guide here. We had people from municipalities. We have people from nature organizations. So it was quite a diverse group, which was very good. And we offered them the 5-day course, so 5 half days, which we know for people with their own business is quite a lot of time to invest in something like this. So we were very happy that a lot of people wanted to put their time and effort into this. This was the flyer that we sent them for the invitation, and then I have some pictures of our 5-day course. So the first one was here, where you're sitting. This was a general introduction to the area with a guided tour of the visitor center, as you have just had. But also, maybe, I don't know if you can see, but on the top right is that was a huge map that we printed of the area, and they could put a flag where their business was located, so they could see where are my colleagues located. We also made a binder where all the information was there. Then the second day was actually about the team culture and heritage. We organized this at the Zande, a Reformation school, but that was very important for the development of the area as well. So there, a local guide explained the history of the area, the legends of the area, so all the things about culture and heritage were addressed there. And also what we did was we to get them to interact and have them invested in the course. We gave them homework, we gave them several assignments. The assignment here that they had the week before was to come up with a westjedatje. That's what we call it. It's just a small fact. Did you know that? Something very small, but something that they had to, it had to be something personal, like why is your restaurant called De Haze? Because, or on what street are you located? Do you know the background? So that's what they had to do there. It was very interesting, and we saw there that a lot of people know a lot about their area, but can't put it in a larger context. So that was very surprising there to hear all those things. Mm-hmm. And we linked it to a guided tour by the guide who was also an ambassador. It's the guy in the hat in the red coat. He did something very fun. He has a guided tour where he dresses up as a local baron, and he takes you around the village and tells you the story of how the village was founded by this noble family. You can go see a castle. Then we went to a chapel that was erected there because the baron was shot in a hunting accident. But he's a really fun guy, and it's a really fun thing to do. Then our third course was about leisure and recreation. It was done at a local pub, and I gave them a crash course in what maps we have, what publications, what are the top attractions here that you can recommend to your guests. And then we went to a local restaurant not far from there. The owners were also participating in the ambassador project. And it was about local products and produce. It was a restaurant who really is involved with that. They have a menu terroir, and they presented the way they work. And we asked all the ambassadors to bring their own local product, something that they found in their immediate surroundings. Again, very surprising results. We found out a lot of new products. For example, honey by a beekeeper that is their neighbor, and it was really interesting to see. The fourth day was about landscape, and it was more theoretical, but about how the landscape is formed. So as I said, the land reclamation that develops the checkerboard pattern. But it's very theoretical, so we linked it to a cycling tour where they could really go and see everything, all the traces in the landscape. Then the last one was about nature, and we had a early morning walk through a nature reservation with someone from the nature group there. And we followed that up by a visit to a local restaurant where they had to present their last assignment, and that was actually, we had given them the assignment to create an arrangement, I don't know if you can say, like a package deal actually to offer to tourists and recreationists.
Did they have to do that individually or could they work in groups?
No, that was actually one of the conditions, was that they had to work together with other ambassadors and preferably with ambassadors from another municipality, so that it would be cross borders. Another condition was that it had to be around the different themes that we had addressed in the course. So not only should there be something, a nature walk, but then you can go to a local restaurant to try local produce. It had to be a bit of all the themes in them. So by bringing together all these different parties, we wanted them to create different products. And there were a lot of things, fun things that came out of it. For example, we have one package deal that is called Eating and Sleeping Beneath the Towers. And it's a B&B that is in a castle, and they work together with a restaurant that is situated next to radio towers. It's also a story here, industrial heritage. That's really fun. One B&B owner actually redecorated her rooms to different historical figures and anecdotes in the region. So she now has a Red Star Line room that is linked with a guided tour. So there were a lot of fun things that came out of this. Maybe important also to say that at every session we invited the local tourism office to come and give an info session about the highlights in the municipality, so we can really give them all the information they need. So a month after the course ended, we organized a graduation where the deputy of the province handed them their diplomas, and they also received some customized promotion materials. For example, we made notebooks for them that say welcome in the landscape park with the ambassadors, and they can write down their personal tips and give it to their guests or clients. So after the course and between the graduation, we had some time to perfect their arrangements and package deals. So when they then graduated, here they are. We released a press release and promoted them as much as we can. So we made a web page for them. There was an article in our landscape park paper. We included them on the overview map. We have different ads in magazines, and we linked those to contests where people could win a package deal. So we try to promote them as much as we can. So this was all last year that they graduated. And now for the future, we've had some requests to organize a second course for new ambassadors. But I think before we start with the second course, I think the most important part now is to keep the existing network alive and dynamic. So we want to organize annual reunions for them, to keep them updated and focus on a particular subject. We're also looking into maybe having a more individual approach, where we try to coach them on an individual level and sit down with them and try to incorporate the Bulskampveld story in their business. But the project that we had where we could do all these actions ended a few months ago, and now we have applied for subsidies for a new leader project to keep this alive. So hopefully this will be continued, and I hope we'll know this in December.
I think the 1st of December.
Yeah.
For the new leader project. because
Yes. So
I think
we are
that's one of the problems. What you've explained, I think it's so valuable. It should not be a project.
Yeah.
It should be part of the structural work of your type of organization.
Yeah. That's a bit of that has been a problem for a long time now. So we're always depending on European project subsidies. But we can feel it that the partners now are not ready to incorporate it in their structural.
Do you have a way of, I know maybe it's too early, but is there a way of measuring the success of your ambassadors? I mean, have they noticed any difference?
It's
bookings
difficult
and
to measure
on
this.
even on the small scale, does the BNB, for example, notice that some of these guests that arrive are doing, doing tours or whatever? I mean, there must be some way of seeing how successful.
How many occupied beds and things like that.
That is the effect is not visible in the number of beds or not like that, but we do notice that people who come to stay here often already know in advance that this is the region where you're coming. A few years ago this was not the case, but now we have a lot of promotion, we have an online visibility, and people, that's something we have noticed and that the ambassadors have told us as well. This was not the case a few years ago, but now people come, they come and stay, and they know already, there's a map and can you offer me. But the package deals, to be perfectly candid, it's not something that we notice only here, we notice it in all the regions. A package deal is more a promotional tool than that it is something that is very frequently booked. It's more something that we...
For the fact is you've got your ambassadors, have they noticed when somebody comes to stay, okay, we say, well, we're going to come to them already, but is there people that are coming that don't know anything about this, but their new knowledge that they have acquired through your course, has that made a difference to their guests by saying, oh yes, I'm interested, I'll go and have a look at this, I didn't know anything about it. I mean, that would be an interesting thing.
Yeah. The thing that we're hoping to create actually is, as I said earlier, the potential is not here to attract tourists from abroad solely for the landscape park Bulskampveld. It's something we have to be realistic about, but what we do want to accomplish is that there could be a longer stay, so that people who come here to visit Bruges not only come here to visit Bruges one night, that they could stay longer, and that our ambassadors can tell them, hey, but when you stay longer, look what we have here, we can have all the, and that's why we also have everything digitally. We make it available to them so that when they get a booking, they can actually send them all the info in advance.
One other example I could give you is, for instance, because you told correctly that it's very important for the group that they work with each other. And I was talking only last week to one of the guys that some of you are staying in his bed and breakfast. He said, because I now know more about the other bed and breakfasts in the area, when one of us gets overbooked, we very quickly call so and so. But before, it was me and my bed and breakfast and you and yours. Now they will more easily interact, so
also they now know much more, like I think, for example, the restaurant that works with the local produce, he has gotten a lot more referrals by B&B owners that just, that's a great restaurant, you should go there, or the farmer with the strawberries that you could go pick there. It was very unknown actually, only by local people, but now he gets a lot more people, and those are the referrals he gets from the B&B
But it
owners.
is important, isn't it? The first thing you do when you go to a new place and you don't know anyone is, where is it nice to eat?
Yeah.
Because you end up going to some terrible places and you start with a pay a lot of money and then they really put you off. Well, it's true, isn't it? Yeah.
And that's why the B&B owners and holiday homes are really important for us, because they are actually the first people you see when you arrive here, and you're very inclined to ask them insider information. So it's important for us that they can carry out our Bulskampveld message as well. Like, this is the largest green area. You should go there. 150 kilometers walking path. So we try to keep them informed as much as we can and keep them motivated. I think that
Do you
would
know of
be
any other areas in Belgium where they have used this type of build-up network of ambassadors?
Yes, there is a network of ambassadors in Sven. So that's a nature reserve located at the coast in Knokkegeest. And that's a very, very well-known nature reserve. It has a lot of tourists and recreationists there. And they started, I think, a few years before us, and they immediately had 3 different courses that were fully booked. I think they have 60 or 70 ambassadors. And that's why we were quite surprised when we already had 30 our first try, because Sven is something in Belgium that's very well known, and the business owners are very inclined to incorporate this in their own businesses. So, but that's one example I know of. They do it. In the Netherlands, they do it as well. Drentse Aan National Park. So it's something that is becoming increasingly important, I think, for us as an organization as well, because tourism is something, funds are dropping everywhere. It's a very difficult economic climate for something as tourism, so we can see that in the municipalities, focus is shifting and tourism is the first thing to be cut off the menu. So we can see that local people that work at the municipality, they can't work on tourism anymore. They don't get the time, they don't get funds to develop new things. And also the tourism offices are closing more and more, or get thrown together with sports or youth, and we see that this is not the first place where tourists and recreationists go now, because mostly they're closed on weekends, which is very illogical, but has to do with funding and personnel as well. So we see that our entrepreneurs and local businesses are becoming increasingly important for visitor reception.
Well, I've noticed that you have so many schools visiting and so many school children, surely that sort of like, other than coming just with a school visits, I mean, parents are targeted perhaps to come here with their children on their own personal time and do a bit more than just their activity.
Yeah.
Isn't that sort of a really big market that we can sort of
that's
tap
true.
onto?
But that's very local as well. So,
Yes.
and the provincial domain, I think, has something about 200,000 visitors annually, and those are very local people for the moment. So a lot of parents come here with their children, but most of the time it's then very limited to, the provincial domain. You have a playground here, they can eat pancakes in the cafeteria, and it's very local. But yes, indeed, that's something maybe we can look into for the future, to get the children to be ambassadors as well.
Ambassador babies.
I mean, I think it's such an easy, you put them there and they have families. They've got their friends and their families are mining somewhere else.
No, it's true, because our new project that we are trying to get approved is actually targeted at families with small children. So we're going to build a more child-friendly offer with shorter walking tours with buggies that you can do with buggies. And we're going to use that in our promotion and target them. more questions?
No? Well, you could still, are you staying with us to have a